two. Check. Check 2. What's up, folks? Hello. Hello, friends. Hello, friends. Comrade Social Distancing, thank you so much for the 22 months of Prime. Thank you, Comrade Social Distancing, and for all the support that you've shown this channel. Very much appreciated. Very, very much appreciated. I mean that. Thank you. Hey, Evan. How's it going? Welcome back. Haven't seen you in a spell, Evan. Thank you also to Vlad the Victor for the 1 entire year of Prime from Vlad the Victor. Thank you, Vlad. Thank you also, Lodane, for the raid. We're twinsies today. Twinsies. That's been cool, right? That's cool. We coordinated that, obviously. How's everyone doing? You hanging in there? Going okay? I also gave Rob a ride to the office. He let it slip. That's right. The Freudian slip there. I revealed too much. Revealed a little too much about some of the behind-the-scenes machinations going on over here at TRRS HQ. Had a beef madras, so all is good. That sounds great, Dave. That sounds great. I still have a little bit of echo in here. It's not as bad because I've got some furniture and stuff in here now. It's not as bad. I need a rug. I need a couple more things to get this echo situation under control. I ate Pizza Hut last night and it feels worse than being hungover today. I gotta say, I love Pizza Hut 10,000 sandwiches. I love it. I love it. More Lenin bust will help all this echoes. It's so small. Look how small it is. Jesus Christ. It's just insulting. I really should get like a full-sized bust in there. Not getting much echo on this end. Okay, that's good, carrier wave. I guess it's more for me. It's more for me than anything else. I think in the mic it doesn't get picked up as much. Look at that tiny little Lenin. It would be good to get the whole gang. That's true. But like a really nice full-sized one. Up there, like around this size. That would be good. What if you kept small Lenin and got like a huge Stalin cardboard cutout? You could go right there on the wall. Just put him 3 inches from the cam. That's right. That would make sense. That would look a lot better. Keeping most of the echo for himself like a capitalist. That's right. No one else gets that cathedral effect. No one else gets the cathedral effect except me. Damn it. That's all for me. Okay? A life-size Hojo would be good. That'd be very good. Let's pool and get this bad boy. I agree, actually. I agree with this plan. Oops. Rid of that. I absolutely agree with this plan here. Look at this. We could do a GoFundMe for this. It's only $89,000, 122 large Canadian, for a 15.7 foot bronze Lenin statue. Look at that. It's wonderful. I think that would go nicely in this place. $89,000. Who says no? That's a steal. That is a steal. A Kim Jong-il tapestry could make for stylish sound baffling on that patch of wall behind you. That would be nice as well. I do actually want to get one of those, like a USSR China friendship posters. Maybe not even for here. Maybe not even for here, but like for this room. Gonna take out a second mortgage account to buy Rob a statue. Thank you. That's the kind of dedication that I like to hear. Outrun. I love my DPRK Cuba poster. Do you have a link, John? I want to get some shit like that.
You can count on me. You're gonna have
I really want to get some shit like that.
To talk you through all this.
Bruno, thank you for the 3 months of Prime. Thank you, Bruno. Propagandopolis. I really do want to get some shit like that.
You can count on me. You're gonna have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Rootbeard. Thank you so much for the 18 months of Tier 1, Rootbeard. Welcome. Good to see you. Good to see you in the chat. Thank you so much for that. Just print out the Putin Kim meeting photo from today. Okay, yeah, there's some good stuff on here. You're right. You're right, Dimitri. There's some very good shit on here. Not so much the Afghan anti-Soviet poster. Not so much that, but death to world imperialism. That's cool. That is sick. Mayday poster. Yeah, I gotta get some of this shit. Proletariat come together. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Great. Great stuff. Great stuff. What do they got in the way of Korea? An East German DPRK poster? Oh yes. Look at this. Sick. What's this one? Yeah, I just saw this as well. That's very good too. Oh man, I think I might have to get some of this shit, folks. I think I might have to get some of this shit. A lot of good stuff on here. Here's the John's. Oh yeah, this is very good. This is very good too. I love that. I'm going to be taking a closer look at some of this stuff. I am absolutely going to be taking a closer look at some of this stuff. Hey, Squatch, what's up? God, my hair is in like a... It's in that in-between zone. It's in the in-between zone between being short and being long. We hate the in-between zone, don't we, folks? It's one of the worst zones for hair. One of the worst zones you can possibly have. That's starting to look okay. I don't know. You look very handsome today. Thank you, Dr. Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that a lot. Thank you. Throw the championship hat on it. That's what I do with my dumb hair. I might have to. I was trying to do one hatless stream. I might have to, though. Remember when everyone had keep calm and carry on posters? What a dark time for humanity. It's true. You know what I should get as well? Is one of those... Your hair is saying, where are you? Where are you? It took me a minute to get that. It is saying that a little bit. Those are my roots. Listen, those are my roots. Back in the day, I used to even use a straightener sometimes. I would give it a little run through with the straightener. You folks know what I'm about. You know what I'm about. But yeah, you know what I should get? The poster I should get is one of the ones with the cat hanging off the cliff. That says like Po Buddy's Nerfict or whatever it is. What if I got that? Like you get in like a high school guidance counselor office. Do you think I could do that? Would that look cool? For the office? The worst kind of hair is male pattern baldness, and then COVID comes along and you just let it grow and it turns into a skullet. That actually could... I think that sounds like it's going all the way around to being cool, though. I think that's like... You're saying that like that's a bad thing, but that's having a skullet, I think, sounds... An unironic skullet, I think that sounds cool to me. I just really don't, you know? I just don't have that issue. I really don't. I don't think it's going to be a problem for me. I'm not a hairy guy. I mean, even this is only like I'm almost 40 and I can't even grow a beard. Like this is all I can do. I'm not like, look at this. Look at this. I got nothing. Nothing.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Suddenly feeling a bit better about my COVID skullet. I think it sounds cool. Smooth Rob, it's true. Thank you Dimitri, thank you so much for the gifted sub. Thank you very much. Really good to have you back in the chat, Dimitri. Yeah. I just don't think I have that issue with the male pattern baldness. I got other issues. Believe me, I've got other issues when it comes to like my head. It's just male pattern baldness is not one of the issues. Plenty of other issues going on up there, though. Don't get me wrong. Rob, if it's no issues, he's perfect. Not true. Not true at all. I got more than enough issues to go around. I would happily trade male pattern baldness for some of the other things I got going on up there. Easily. I would do that deal in a heartbeat. Hair is full, but ankle and middle back feels fucked. It's funny that you mentioned that, Squatch, because my ankle does feel fucked. My back is okay. My back is surprisingly okay. I don't know how that's even possible. I remember around the time my kid was born, I was starting to have that really bad like sciatica. And then I think just the process of like having a baby and like always carrying him around and walking around and then having the baby slowly grow and get heavier. It was like this like exercise program that I didn't really plan for, and I think it cured my back problems. But I'm really just waiting for the day that it comes back. You know? I'm just waiting for the day that the back issues rear their ugly head. I know it's going to happen eventually. The baby was giving that core strength, it's true. My mom blames her back issues on my being born. Well, there we go. I guess you never know. Oh, this is nice. This is nice, Red Wizard. I like this a lot, actually. I am really going to have to get some of this shit. This is very cool. And I have this artwork I made into a large custom frame on my living room wall. That sounds great. That sounds really cool. Yeah, I got the knee issue. I got all kinds of... I have a litany of foot issues, knee issues, ankle issues. My lower... From the knees down is really bad. The knees down is really not doing good. I'm going to start... I'm going to try and start exercising more. I've been saying this for a while. I've been saying this for a while. I do think I'm going to join like not a basketball rec league, but I know there's like pickup games. And I think I'm going to start playing. I'm going to start hooping again. I've been losing a little weight. I've been walking a lot. I've been walking a couple K every day. I've lost a little weight. I do feel a little bit better physically, but I think I'm going to start taking that to the next level. I'm going to get back into a run of some kind. I'm going to start hooping again. And I know I've been saying that for a while. I know that, okay? I know I've been saying that for a while to the chat. I'm going to start hooping again. I've said this multiple times, but I mean it this time, okay? Now I'm serious. I wasn't serious before, now that I'm serious. Casual basketball is super... I've almost started. That's right. Casual basketball is super fun and great exercise. Yeah, and you know what? For me, it's like a form of meditation. It really is. Like when I can just go into a gym and kind of shoot some jumpers, my mind just goes blank. That's when I'm at my most zen. We talking body pain? I love talking about this. I have that. I know, Eric. I know you're a big fan of the various both natural and accident caused body pains. Eric's big into that whole world. Ready to go hard in the paint. I don't get into the paint as much. I more hang out by the 3-point line and take spot up 3-pointers. But when you make a couple of those, the defense then has to like try and keep you honest, and then that's when you get an opening to the lane. You get an opening into that paint, and you can either get a little layup, a little jump hook, or draw a defender. You beat the one defender, draw another defender, and then you got somebody open. Somebody's open for a jumper. Somebody's going to cut to the basket. You get a nice assist. I got into foraging, and all that bending over and squatting to look at shrooms is a bit of a workout. That sounds good. I mean, just imagine just like trudging through the forest as well. That's cool. That must be good for you. Gonna start hooping again. Rod proceeds to climb a tree with his howler monkey friends. That's right. That's what I was referring to. Come to the skate park with me. I'm not a skater. I never was. A lot of my friends in high school were skaters, but it never took with me. I started 9 months ago. Oh wow. Okay, I guess it's never too late. I don't think I can get into skating as like a 40-year-old man. I just don't think I can do that. I don't know if I can do that. Good morning, metal dipshit. Hello. People in their 30s learning to skate is such a 2020, 2021 thing. I didn't know that, but that sounds... I'm going to just take your word for it, Mondo Michel. I'm going to take your word for it. This poster from the United Arab Republic is an absolute gem. Let's see this. I got a couple of options for some artwork here. This is cool. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Very cool. A lot of good stuff here. A lot of good options. It's the 20-year cycle nostalgia for middle and aging millennials. I think if I wanted to get into that nostalgia cycle, what I would do is just like park in a random apartment, like one of those random like dingy hot couch apartments, and just smoke a lot of weed and watch skateboard videos. I think that would trigger the nostalgia cycle for me. You watched that Daewon Song versus Rodney Mullen video? Remember that one? Daewon Song versus Rodney Mullen? Classic. You have like a weird bong. One of your weird friends swears that if you drink the water, you get higher. Christ jumps up, stub tweeting like this. Fuck. I think Lodane and I had a very similar teenage upbringing. You know, everyone had that friend. You know, everyone had that friend. You got to drink the bong water. You get higher. It's like, no, you're just really fucked up if you decide to do that. You're already high. It's not doing anything. You just unlocked a memory. I gotta go back and watch that again. Fucking, it's so good. It's so good, folks. Just picture it, right? Picture it. We're going back in time. It's 1999. It's 1999. One of your friends has that weird deal with their parents where they have the basement room and they don't really care if they have other dirtbag friends over and smoke weed there. Right? You're there. There's too many people on the sofa. Maybe you got another TV going on with an N64, WCW versus NWO Revenge playing on the other TV. Right? You're smoking weed, but you have the tube with the bounce sheet in it, and you're blowing it through there, and it just, you think that it makes you completely impervious to being noticed. My friend Jeff, yeah. I hope he's okay too. I hope Jeff's doing okay. Putting 5 on it for a group sack to smoke approx 4 J's. The Doob Tube. You know what I'm talking about, 10,000 sandwiches. The Hoot Muffler. We called it a spoof. Everyone's got a different name for it. I don't know what it was called. I'm trying to remember the friend that I'm thinking of. It was Jamie something. Jamie Craig? Is that it? You were all too chill. My brother and I were blaring this. We would also, well, listen. Souls of Mischief. In my day, actually, there was probably a lot of like death metal and crazy like metal and hardcore playing as well. Right? Maybe you're skipping school. Maybe you're skipping class. You're skipping class. You got way too much stuff at the Taco Bell. Huge Taco Bell order. This is literally the end of history, right? Western society peaked at this moment that I'm talking about here. You don't know it at the time. You think things are going to get better. You think things are going to get better from that point. You're like, I'm young. I'm 17, 18. My whole life is in front of me. I'm going to be working less than my parents. I'm going to have more options, housing, jobs. Everything's up on the up and up. It's 1999. I'm a little younger, but yes, you get the idea.
You simply use the computer to mark up the size of the account.
Thank you, Dimitri, for the 150 Fred coin. I was thinking less about work. I didn't want to do it. Well, I didn't want to do it either, but I was like, well, first of all, I was like, I'm going to be in a band. That's going to be my job. So I've got that figured out. Everything's going great. Everything's just going just fine. Hanging out at Donnie's place, he had DBZ and CKY posters hanging up, smoking some weed, then a little ramp in the yard. The pinnacle of U.S. civilization. Unironically. You think this is going to be TOS with the music and everything? I'm talking over it. Doesn't that make it like a background thing? Aren't I adding context and stuff to it? I don't even think this is the video that I was talking about, though. I think I'm talking about round 1. I think this is the video I was talking about. Because it's got a really epic intro, if I remember correctly. Your whole life stretching in front of you, folks. No, that's not what I was talking about. Let's just go back to that. Everything's going great. I wish I could go back and show my young self what Bam Margera's doing today. That would tell me a lot about the future. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. What else is going on? You know what? Maybe later on that evening, what are you doing? For me, I'm going to a hardcore show in a church basement. Right? I just picked up an 8th. It's the pre-show. You're at your friend's house, Jamie or Jeff or whoever it is, big pussy. You're there in the basement with the doob tube or whatever you call it regionally. Just picked up an 8th. Skipped the latter half of school. Skipped the second half of the day. You're gaming N64 skate videos. You're going over to the in my case Trinity Church later. The weed was crap, very seedy. GoldenEye, yeah. Heading over to Trinity Church later for a hardcore show. This is the crazy intro that I was talking about. Fat pussy. Okay, excuse me. I'm losing track of my own cherished childhood memories now. Look at this guy. This guy's a fucking magician. Love to go to Christian hardcore shows and get mad when they slowed down the show to pray. I never went to like Christian hardcore shows, but there were a few Christian hardcore bands that I enjoyed. Stretch Armstrong, that was one. There was that other band, Zao, I think they were called. I like that. Look at what they took from us. We gotta return. Return. Zao, there we go. There we go, Johnny. You know what I'm talking about. The compound will have a half pipe for us all to break our wrists on. They took our skateboards and replaced them with briefcases. Look at this guy. This is ridiculous. It's August 2000. It's August 2000. Things are just on the up and up. Everything's getting better. Everything's just going to keep getting better forever. After school, my brother would always take me north to a pizza place that sold by the slice so I could watch at least one episode of Samurai Jack. That sounds cool. You go to your friend's house after skating because he has this DVD of the shit called CKY that he keeps talking about that he got from one of the dudes at the skate shop. Yeah, absolutely. You go in after a long day. Like for me, I wasn't a skater, but my friends were skaters. So you go after a long day of hanging out, walking around the suburbs. You get a big glass of juice or ice cold water, or whatever, and you make that sound. You know, it's like that sound. Remember that sound? You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. You know what I'm talking about. That sound. Everyone knows that sound. No one made the sound after 9/11. No, we had to stop. We had to stop after. Look at these this guy, man, is ridiculous. Really the best to ever do it. I don't think I've ever seen... It's not like I really keep up on skateboarding, but I've never seen anyone even come close to this. I had a bunch of these on VHS and DVD, but I would watch them on repeat. Yeah, I never had them myself, but I remember being at like weird houses of people that I very vaguely knew from high school and drug dealers and like those types of shady individuals. Hey B-Rad, thank you. Thank you for the compliment. You have to go back. We have to go back, folks. Perhaps after the hardcore show, you're walking around the suburbs with your shitty friends. Just kind of walking around the suburbs aimlessly. You don't know where you're going. Where are we even going? We're just walking around. Maybe hang out in behind the high school for a little bit in the bleachers. Hang out there a little bit. You go to the convenience store after, you get maybe like a 2-liter of like RC. I was 11 in 2000, so I never got to experience the 90s as a young adult.
And count on me and have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Happy to have been here. Thanks, Rib Foucault.
Thank you, Sans Dancer and Chauko Saket. Is that one of those? I've gotten busted on one of those names before where I said something filthy without realizing. But thank you for the 7 months tier 1. Thank you. The only skateboarder who can pull off tricks like when you play Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. But that game was a big part of this as well. Smoke weed, go to the music store in the mall, and listen to what they got in the preview headphones. There we go. That's good. But yeah, Johnny, this was, I know if you were 11 at this time, you didn't get to experience, this was my teenage years, though. Because I was...
Count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
I actually lost your comment here. In 2000, I was like 17, 18. So this was right in like 1999. Yeah, I was like 16, 17. This was right. This was my exact lifestyle. I hate to admit I was kind of a mall rat between 16 and 17. Technically wasn't a mall rat because I did work there. I was never really a mall rat, but I did 18 and 2000 gang. There we go. I didn't really hang out at the mall a lot, like intentionally, but I did get a job. Like when they opened the Walmart in Brockville, Ontario, I got a job there, and it was at the mall. It was at the Thousand Islands Mall in Brockville, Ontario. So I did work at the Walmart there for a couple months. There was a Walmart in this mall too. This was before, because now when you go to Brockville, now the Walmart is its own mall. Like they built their own big complex with a grocery store and everything like that. But when Walmart first came to Brockville, it took over from I believe it was the Sears. There was a Sears in the mall. And Walmart bought out the Sears. I worked at Jamba Juice. I had a couple of different jobs around that time. I worked at the Olco gas station. That was my first job. I worked at the Walmart. So here's how I remember 9/11, the short version. I got home early from school after getting there late. I run into the basement after my mom told me not to watch anything on the news. All I wanted to watch was Beast Wars. It suspended Fox Kids for the day for full-time news coverage. That's how you know the terrorists really won, too. When they fucking cancel Beast Wars. Then the terrorists have truly won. I was, again, skipping class. I went out for breakfast with a couple friends at the Relax Restaurant in Brockville. The Relax Restaurant. Getting some just bacon and eggs, kind of standard fare at the Relax Restaurant. Never forgot canceled Beast Wars, absolutely. And one of the waitresses came up to us and was like, "You guys are going to get drafted in the war." And we were just like, "Okay, what are you talking about? Okay, whatever." And then in the cab on the way back to school, we took a taxi back to the school and it was like, "Oh, there's some crazy shit happening. I see. Have you watched the mall walkthrough videos? Just someone wandering around with a camcorder in the 90s. I've definitely watched some of those on this, like earlier on in the channel. That's what I was doing a lot. I was often doing that kind of stuff. I'm not so nostalgic for being a teenager in the 2000s and the 9/11 paranoia we all lived under for under a decade. Well, that's the thing, because like it's this inflection point in like history, and it's like that's when the decline of the American Empire started. But for me, it's like this perfect point between my childhood and teenage years versus adulthood. You know? You know what I mean? I'm 18 in 9/11, and then after that year, I went to Europe for a little bit. I traveled around Europe for a little bit. I graduated high school that semester. 9/11 was in September, obviously, and I I finished school in like December. I went to Europe after for a little bit, and then I'm an adult. Then I went to university. So it's just like completely like it's the thing that separates these two eras. I'm 33 now. Am I still viable for the draft? I think possibly. You possibly still are, yeah. Best times were fires on the beach with some of those stubby beers, and then back to friends' house to watch Kelly Slater's surf vids. I'm geeking right now. That sounds similar. It sounds very similar to what I'm talking about, but definitely different culturally, Sam. So you're in the UK, Sam. Like, where do you live? Like around Brighton or something like that? You live on the coast? Unless I'm mistaken. I don't want to accidentally identify you as a UK person if that's not what you are. I should just turn this shit off, the music. You just turn it off. It's like we've got stuff to talk about today too, and this is what I'm doing. I don't know why. I don't know how we got started on this. Sometimes we just got to do the nostalgia cam. Sometimes we do. I don't know. Every couple months on the show, we got to do one of these moments. Okay, if we're gonna do real nostalgia cam here. If we're really going to do Nostalgia Cam, I was talking about Trinity. Here's a show, an actual show in Brockville at Trinity Church. And you can see me. I'm in this video. This is one of the shows that I was talking about. This was a local band, FRF, aka First Rate Fiction. A local pop punk band. This is a show at Trinity Church that I was at. There's me. That's me. You can see my huge jeans. That was my big jean era. That's a strung out shirt. You know, if the band's strung out. My strung out shirt that I got at a show. At a strung out show. This is the exact moment that I was talking about. What am I here fucking Mid 2000s, so yeah, I'm 17, 18 there, I guess. Genko rubs. I did have Genkos, but I don't think these were Genkos. I miss local grimy punk band concerts. Me too. This is a vibe we can just never. I feel like we can never come back to this. I mean, I'm sure this must exist still. I'm sure there's still grimy local pop punk shows. Oh man. The back cuffs would get so tore up. Exactly. It was rainy. When it was rainy, it would get soaked right up to the knee. We literally just had a punk show at Sonic's here in New Jersey. And I've played punk shows in New Jersey. I've played them because after this era, I got into playing in bands. I played at a bowling alley and a church basement in New Jersey. We talked about this a couple weeks ago, actually. Does someone walk up to you during this and whisper a second plane is at the Pentagon, then you continue to watch the show? Okay, I can't anymore. It's too much. It's too much, folks. This is too much nostalgia. This is just too much nostalgia now. This is too much. I gotta pull back. I gotta pull back from the nostalgia cab. Someone's playing a death metal show at a fried chicken restaurant not far from here today. That sounds great. That sounds wonderful. We're getting into a nostalgia overdose now. I'm going to a new metal club later on. That's cool. I didn't know those still existed. New metal club. That's neat. We're going to have to move on from this eventually. I have like serious important stuff to talk about today. In fact, I just got a text from Pam Palmater. I did just get a text from Pam Palmater. I'm hoping to have Pam come on the stream today, even for a little bit. I know she's very busy doing media hits today and stuff, so I don't know if it's going to be possible. And I really waited till the absolute last minute to reach out to her. I waited till the absolute last minute to reach out to Pam. So I don't know if that's going to be possible, but we might have a Pam cameo today. What's going on with the sorry, what's the topic of discussion today, Cuba? Well, I mean, today in Canada is Orange Shirt Day. It's today when we remember residential school survivors, and we try to talk about the genocide of Indigenous peoples in Canada. So I do want to spend some time looking at some content in relation to that today. There's plenty of stuff to look at. That's why I would like Pam to come on, because she's a really wonderful Indigenous human rights activist and lawyer. And I would say a friend. I would say Pam is a friend of the show, a friend of the stream, and my friend as well. So maybe Pam can come on, maybe not. But there is a bunch of videos and stuff that we can look at with that as well. Maybe best friend. Maybe. I mean, I don't want to be too presumptuous. You know, I don't. A Pameo. The people demand Pam. Well, we'll see. We'll see. She just wrote me back. Many people are saying Pameo. She said if I can, I will, of course. I'm in Halifax doing media and 2 events, so likely why I missed the Twitter message. So Pam's very busy. Pam's very busy today doing this exact thing. And like a total asshole, I reached out to her like at noon the day of like that I'm doing this thing. I was like, hey, do you want to like come on my stream possibly to talk about this? Like a total, as professional as I was yesterday. I completely fucking blew it today with trying to get Pam on the show. But maybe Pam will take time out of her very busy schedule to hang out with us for a little bit today. And I guess beside from that, I feel like I missed the opportunity to talk about the Cuba thing. She's so busy, but she's making time because you're best friends. I mean, that's what best friends do, isn't it? That's what best friends do. Pam, do you want to come over and watch skate videos and hit the doob tube? Jesus. So maybe we can do that. We'll see how it goes. We will see how it goes. And I feel a little like I missed an opportunity to talk about the Cuba thing and family law and all that stuff. I did want to probably talk a little bit more about Russia and Ukraine and the stuff Putin's saying today and maybe some of the updates on that as well. Oh, no, I know you're not suggesting the agenda, Dimitri. I think I myself have been kind of unclear about this. So, because I really wanted to talk about Cuba and all the bad Cuba takes that we saw. But just trying to squeeze that in. You know, that's the difficult part. I think for now, I'm going to get a Diet Pepsi. I went to the grocery store today to get some stuff for the fridge, and it's like they did not have Diet Coke. I wanted to get one of those Diet Coke fridge packs, and that's confusing to me. It's just like, how do you not? This is the second most popular beverage in the world, Diet Coke. It just didn't have any. They had some small. Yeah, thanks, Brandon. They had some small cans. They had like the bottles, the plastic bottles, but I don't want that. I want the fridge pack with the cans, okay? I want the fridge pack with the cans. And they did not have it, so I was forced to go with Pepsi instead. And in fact, I'm going to get one of those bad boys right now. Just 1 second. You got to get the cans. Cans over bottles any day. I mean, this is just how it goes. This is how it is. Your chair parentied your mic. This guy just won't stop spinning. I'm just going to eat my little bread here. Talk amongst yourselves just for a moment. I'm going to eat my naan bread. I got some red pepper hummus here I'm finishing off. I'll drink my Pepsi, and perhaps we can start talking about some serious business. Are those lenses an homage to Yellow Parenti? So, I don't know. Like, these lenses do seem like they have a bit of a yellow tint. These are just blue light blockers. These are like blue light lenses. So they don't appear yellow from my end. But I know on camera, especially in this enhanced lighting situation, you can kind of tell. Is it Prenty's birthday today? Is that Fontaine Sante? Yes, it
You
is.
can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Thank you, Anonymous Gifter, for gifting a sub. To Grizzly Boar. I'll say it each and every time. Our most Christ-like supporters. The Anonymous Gifters. That was my lunch too, except I had everything bagel flavored hummus. That sounds interesting. Sounds very interesting. "89 years young today." Wow. Well, we may have to watch some Michael Parenti content today then. In addition to all the other stuff that I mentioned. Love that hummus. It's good hummus. Good hummus, Bigger Wig.
You've just become an elite member of the Friendship Triangle.
Holy Lord. Oh my goodness. Hold on, I'm going to have to do the thing. Eventually I will automate this, okay? Eventually I'm going to automate this. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow. Eventually I will automate this, but here we go.
Wow. You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Wow.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Wow, and another gift from gifted sub from Anonymous Gifter. Thank you, Anonymous Gifter. Thank you, Comrade Social Distancing, for the 4 gifted subs as well. And thank you to... I don't know how to say the name.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
I do not know how to say this name. Sans Dancer Ench Auko Socket. I feel like that's supposed to be saying something phonetically, but I don't know what it is. But thank you so much for the 10 gifted subs. That's so kind of you. Sans, that works too. That's probably a lot easier. And it keeps getting interrupted, so here it is one more time.
Wow. Okay, Rob. Seriously, wow.
Thank you so much for the 10 gifted subs. That's very kind of you. I thanked Comrade Social Distancing, and Anonymous Gifter gave it another sub as well. It's Dan Crenshaw Coomsocket. Okay. I see. I see. Very nice. I remember when I got the one time I got suspended from Twitter was when I called Dan Crenshaw an eyeless fuck. The one time. The one time they got me. On my proudest name. Okay, well, chin chin, everybody. You know, I prefer Diet Coke. I'm more of a Diet Coke man, but I'm not super hardcore about it.
And have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
I'm not super hardcore about it. I'll enjoy a nice Diet Pepsi sometimes as well.
We simply use the computer to mark up the size of the account.
10,000 sandwiches. Thank you for the 3 gifted subs as well. Thank you so much, 10,000 sandwiches. And thank you, Dimitri, for another 150 friend coin. Mr. Solid State Department. Yep. That's right. Oh, you know what I should probably watch a little bit? Or you know what I should probably talk about a little bit before we move on to like serious business? House of the Dragon. I must admit that I have been sucked back into the Game of Thrones bullshit. I take no pleasure in reporting this. but I have been absolutely sucked back into the Game of Thrones bullshit. I just watched episode 5 last night. You know, my partner and I have been watching that. And I tried to stop it. I tried to be cynical about it. And I don't even know if I like it as much, but I admit that I'm being pulled back into it. And you can see how it's going to get way crazier as well. You can see how, like, the stage is being set for some real crazy shit to happen. Fuck that, I will not watch. Fuck you, don't tell me how good it is. It's honestly pretty good. I'm only on episode 5, so I don't want to spoil. I don't want to hear too many spoilers. Hoping to watch 6 tonight, maybe. Have you watched Rings of Power? I watched the first episode, and I kind of half paid attention to it. I wasn't super into it, but I kind of liked it from what I saw. I enjoyed it from what I saw. It looks great. Like, the look of it is awesome. I'm absolutely getting sucked back into the Game of Thrones bullshit, though. It's true. I tried not to, and I am. I also started watching that. The Doctor Who Targaryen guy is great. Yeah, Daemon is great. It's Matt Smith. Yeah. It's like not. It's not exactly overflowing with memorable characters that you connect to, but he's killing it. I like a character that, like, he just has this kind of, like, subtle menace to the character. And pretty much anytime he shows up in a scene, you're just like, oh shit, what's going to happen here? You know, he brings that to the series, which is pretty cool. Joining just in time for Dragon Talk. I mean, I think my big thing was that he is the chaotic energy. That's right. I think my big thing was that in the first episode, I didn't find the Targaryens that interesting. I thought the Targaryens were more interesting when they were referenced as this big dynasty from the past that kind of weren't really around anymore. And I wasn't really on board with the whole series about Targaryen bullshit, but I have to admit I'm getting sucked back into it. The end of Game of Thrones was such a letdown. To go back feels like rewarding bad behavior, but it's not the same showrunners, though. That's the thing. It's not the same showrunners who just, like, gave up. They just, like, gave up at the end. They had 4 seasons of story left to do, and they were just like, let's just all do this in 1 year. We want to move on to Star Wars. Let's just get all this shit out of the way this season. And then, ironically, they lost Star Wars because they did such a fucking terrible job finishing up the series that all their projects just kind of vanished afterwards because they were exposed as not knowing anything about what the fuck they were doing. So I do get the feeling that I think this series may have learned from some of those mistakes. I invested so much time only get to the last 3 episodes thinking, let's just get through this shit. Yeah, it's kind of what it was like for me as well. Matt Smith is the one thing that might tempt me to watch. Honestly, he's really good in it. He's really good. I also like Paddy Constantine. I think Paddy Constantine has done a very good job as Viserys. He's kind of like a sad sack king, but he does a great job with it. I've been enjoying it, folks. I've been enjoying it. I must admit, I tried not to. You know what else I started watching was that Andor, which I know some other people in the chat recommended Andor, and that's quite excellent as well. I was not expecting Andor to be that great, and it's fucking good. I like Andor because it's not like it's Star Wars, but it isn't in a way. It's got some of the Star Wars aesthetic, but is really kind of in its own world, away from the Empire and away from a lot of the tropes that we recognize. I like it's seedier. It kind of takes place in this weird kind of seedy underbelly of Star Wars, which I think is very cool. Yeah, the baddies are corporate fuck ups. Like I like that a lot. Yeah, I like that a lot. It is very cyberpunk. I've been really enjoying it, and I was not expecting to. I was skeptical because of Game of Thrones ending, but I'm feasting on the dragon shit. Also, I love that David and Dan couldn't foresee the people at Star Wars saying, you gave up on your last project. We don't want you anymore. Historic bag fumble for those guys. Historic. Absolutely historic bag fumble. All they had to do was just continue four or five more seasons of their extremely popular show that they were doing, which they had all the story for. And they were just like, no, we're tired of this now. We're bored of this. Let's just get through this. We can start doing all these other projects we want to do. Now they're not doing shit. Now they're just not doing anything at all. Just keep printing money from the Dragon Money Press. It's like, how hard is this? How hard is this, B-Rat? It shouldn't be that difficult. It's like, that's a great work if you can get it. You're just sitting, all you have to do is just like, make 4 or 5 years of more dragon bullshit, and you're like, people are going to love it. And they're like, no, we're too sophisticated for this. We got to get out of this. We want to get on to this other stuff they were doing, and then all that shit just got canceled. Anyway, I'm enjoying the new dragon bullshit. I'm enjoying that. I enjoyed Andor. Looking forward to more of that. I only saw the first 2 episodes. And Squatch, this is a good point. I've been meaning to mention this. Did you see the trailer to The Last of Us HBO show starring Pedro Pascal? Can't wait for it, nor can I. It looks fucking great. Shit, no, sorry. That's not it. That's not it. That's not what I'm talking about. That's not what I'm talking about.
The roses have faded, there's frost at my door. The birds in the morning don't
Yeah,
sing.
Squatch, I loved Last of Us. I'm a big Last of Us proponent.
Grass in the valley is starting to die, and out in the darkness the whippoorwills cry. The darkness is falling, the sky has turned gray, a hound in the distance.
Seems like it's going to be very faithful to the game as well. A lot of the imagery is right out of there.
Alone and forsaken by fate and by man. Oh Lord, if you hear me, please hold my hand. Alone and forsaken by fate and by man. Oh Lord.
Oh, Diego Luna plays Tommy in this. Cool.
Hold that shot. You keep her alive. And you set everything right. Save who you can save.
Nick Offerman is Bill. That's great casting. I didn't know that. Yeah, this looks really good. Is there more like bullshit here? Okay. Yeah, Johnny, seriously, this is the content you're going to get to after you got your Pepsi. That's right. That's correct. Johnny, you got to play this. You got to play The Last of Us. And it's funny too because like that trope of like cynical man.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Rob, I love you. Say it back, please.
Thank you, Dr. Maggot, for the 9 months of Tier 1. I love you too, Dr. Maggot. Thank you. I was just saying that trope of like cynical man transporting someone that he doesn't want to get connected to across post-apocalyptic landscape has become such like a common thing. It's a common trope, but it's just done so expertly in there. It's just like it's done so well. It is a very good game still. I didn't think you'd do it. Why'd you have to make my heart melt? This is what I do. This is what I do on here. The Baby Yoda vibes as well. Yeah. If it follows the game story, the first episode is going to have a lot of reactions posted online. Seriously. I was just replaying Last of Us. It's a fall game for me. It's one of the first things I ever did on Twitch. It's one of the very first things I ever did on Twitch. Lodane can attest to this. Was do a Last of Us playthrough, like with no video or anything, just my voice. Perhaps one day I have to return to that. I never did a Last of Us 2 playthrough. I could eventually do a TRRS Last of Us playthrough. Last of Us 2. That would be kind of like a coming full circle moment. Yeah, my Captain Picard avatar. True. I'm very worried about the show. I don't know. I mean, it seems like the cast is good. Visually, it seems good. They've got Druckmann like heavily involved in creating it. I mean, it seems like all the pieces are in place to do something like... Oh, by the way, was my music playing that entire time? I hope not. Was my music playing in the background the whole time that I was watching that trailer? I hope not. I'm sorry if it was. Still haven't played part 2. Oh my gosh, Red Wizard. Oh my gosh. Oh. Oh boy. I don't even know what to tell you. The whole game is just a giant stomach punch. I guess in a good way. I mean, I enjoyed it. You're in for some real pain. It's true. Yeah. You're in for some real pain. But it's still very good, though. I mean, I loved the original so much, and I was not expecting to be able to match that or surpass it in any way. And I was very surprised that it did in many ways. I still probably prefer the original, but it's fucking excellent. Ugh. I guess I should probably start talking about stuff other than this, right? Eventually. What do I have? I have another hour and a half here. I have another hour and a half. I should probably get to talking about the main thing that I wanted to talk about here. It's kind of your folks' fault. You reward me with subs for talking about this bullshit when I'm supposed to be being serious. So in many ways, it's your own fault. Let's do 2 more hours of how much we love The Last of Us. I mean, we could do that as well. Hey, unelectable airwaves. And what did you say? The best part about video games is the hour of you doing things and then 5 minutes of story. You can't put that in a show. But The Last of Us is just so cinematic, though. It's so cinematic that I'm sure they're going to be able to translate all that. I'm sure they're going to be able to translate all that. Like all the action from the game and translate it into an actual cinematic sort of experience.
Invested in Shimmer's well-being than Dina at this point. If Dina dies, I'm like, fuck it, who cares? I am such a horse girl. Oh my god. Literally, I am turning vegan right now. With the I want to make sure that Shimmer is safe above all else. Always.
Get the other! Don't lose her! Go! No!
I had never seen that. Shimmer. Dina was great though. I thought Hassan was being pretty cold to Dina there. Shimmer, wake up. Stop messing around. I had never seen that before. Shimmer, come on. Come on now. Hey, Lon, how's it going? Okay. We've done a lot of like non-political content. Enough horsing around, Shimmer. There we go. I do appreciate a story with an unhappy ending. And I think, you know what? I think that was my main criticism with The Last of Us 2 is that it gets so fucking dark at the end that it's like, I was playing it and I was almost like at the very end of the game, I was like, this is actively unpleasant right now. I'm actively having a bad time at this moment. When I don't want to spoil too much, but there's a big climactic like fist fight in water. If you remember what I'm talking about. Without getting into the details and the spoilers about who's fighting who and the characters. And I was actively just having a bad time with that. I was not enjoying it whatsoever. I just wanted it to be over at that point. I was like, please just stop this. Please make me stop going through this. Get up, Shimmer. Gotta go to Seattle. Stop playing. When you don't want to fight the character, but it makes you. It's fucking miserable. It is miserable. I felt that way with RDR2 near the end. I never played Red Dead Redemption 2. I never played it. I've always intended to, and perhaps I could even do it on the stream, but I just never played it. Pathologic 2. I never played that one either. It's not just depressing for no reason. And I don't think Last of Us is like that either. Like, it's very depressing and morbid, but I wouldn't say it's for no reason. Like, there is kind of like a theme of like the cyclical nature of violence and revenge and how it just creates more misery. I mean, there's kind of there's a theme there behind it, but it is actively unpleasant though. Chat, quick question. I was stuck in the sea with a wrench. I thought I saw something shiny down in the water, so I hit it with my wrench. Now a bunch of gas is leaking. What do I do? I would just keep whacking that. I would keep whacking that thing. That's how you get it to stop. The theme of GRRM's Game of Thrones is to not do anything or you'll make it worse. It do be like that, doesn't it? Pathologic 2 is about inflicting deliberate misery on the player so the emotional payoff is even greater. Pathologic 2.
You can count on me.
Dad
and
used
good
to
old
bring us
Rob
food
to talk
home
you through all
from the
this.
factory.
Greetings, Friendship Triangle. And you too, Rob, I guess.
Crimson, thank you very much for the 7 months of tier 1. Thank you very much, Crimson. I appreciate that. Not that you were not even really saying hi to me, but thank you anyways. You got to play in the original Russian with subs.
And I will get a dog. Teach it to be a tiger. I'll call it Grundy. And they lived happily ever after. And horribly ever before.
Creepy kids singing, always a good addition to these ones.
The plague bringer is here, walking around. Pit-a-pat, pit-a-pat, oh pit-a-pat. 3 coffin bears, 2 mice.
You got a D2
and
music
bat.
box.
I didn't do it.
Hey, Red Scary.
Don't look at me like that.
Okay. That didn't tell me much about the game, but I will take, we've got some trusted chatters saying that it's a masterpiece, so I'll take their word for it. The D2 music box is scaring me effectively. I remember one time in Niagara Falls, I went to like, what is this? What is this, Slowdane? I went to like a haunted house in Niagara Falls, and it was genuinely very scary. I would just keep whacking that. I would keep whacking that thing. God damn it. God damn it. It's the perfect clip doesn't exist. Yeah. It's this incredible tapestry that's all about the effects of industrialization and the displacement of indigenous people and what that does to people and the environment. The virus itself is like an expression of nature against man for our crimes. Very interesting. Very interesting. I don't know if I'll get around to it because I got a lot of stuff I got to get to gaming wise. I did get that like cult game as well for us to try out on the stream sometime. What's the cult of the Lamb? I think it's called something like that. Yeah, Cult of the Lamb. That's it. Twitch is for gaming, apparently. I didn't know this either, but apparently it is. Nice change of pace in here to pretend to be a cult. Exactly. It's something kind of new that we can get into together. It's kind of like a new vibe we can get into.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Fellow patriots, I have intel that my first article has been written, and I also have intel that Barack Obama has bought out O-Block and Chief Keef and Lil Durk, having none of that shit at Robruso.
Coalmine, good to see ya. Thank you for the 20 months, tier 1. I appreciate that. What article? What are you talking about? What article are you talking about here? That sounds exciting. As well as that other intel you had there. That's good. Thank you, Coalmine. Cult of Lamb is fun, and we can use our channel points for something. Well, that's it. There's never any use for the channel points, so we might as well use those somehow. I read from my college campus newspaper. That's wonderful, Coalmine. That's awesome. Very cool. Congratulations to you, sir. Our honorary Zoomer.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
We have like a handful of Zoomers in the chat. Not very many, but Coal Mine is the honorary Zoomer. The official Zoomer of the TRRS community. I don't want to take away from any of our other Zoomer friends. And thank you, Dimitri, for another gifted sub. Thanks so much, Dimitri. Budrino, I think, is a Zoomer as well. Red Budrino, you're on the cusp. You're on the Zoomer cusp. Thank you for dropping the average age of chat to less depressing levels. That's right. I am not. I'm a millennial. Okay, Budrino. Whatever you say. I don't think there's any way because I'm a millennial. I'm a millennial, and you're significantly younger than me, so that doesn't make sense to me. I know I'm a geriatric millennial and all that stuff. I'll be 27 in January. I don't know if that counts. I don't know if that counts, Padrino. I don't know about that, sir. There's no way that I'm in the same generation as people that are 26 years old now. I want to be the main Zoomer. Well, Relic, maybe we can put you in Coal Mine like that scene in The Dark Knight with the pool cue. You snap the pool cue in half, and then whoever wins is whoever's left standing. It's the honorary Zoomer of the community. To be fair, I think we're on the cusp of Gen X. That is true. That is very true. I am on the cusp of Gen X. So we're all just calling it Orange Shirt Day now. Yeah, I think so. I think we are. That's like not a new thing, I don't think. I remember being called I'm sorry to laugh at this, Godzone Drunk. I'm sorry to laugh at this. I remember being called a terrorist on 9/11. I'm Mexican. Oh no. That's horrible. What a horrible story. My dad has started saying no cap to troll me. I have never said that, I don't think. I've maybe said it reading it out in the chat like that, but I don't think I've ever actually said that before.
Russo, some leftist based in Canada. I was turned on to this sick individual, and I found this.
Hey, Zach, thank you very much for the raid. I appreciate that, Zach. Bring it on in here. Get in here, raiders. Thank you. Thank you for the raid, Zach. I appreciate it. I'm Rob. That's all. That's all. I'm a socialist Twitch streamer, podcaster. I'm here today to talk about, Orange Shirt Day and LANDBACK and Indigenous genocide in Canada. And instead I've been talking about like pop culture and video games for the last hour and a half. Rob with the nice orange shirt. I'm not sure if I want that same shirt in red or like the faded red they offer on the site. I do like this orange one. I do like it a lot. Did you hear about Coolio? Yes, I did. R.I.P. Coolio. I actually had the Coolio album. Talk about more nostalgia, pop culture shit. I had the Coolio album, Gangsta's Paradise, back in the 90s. Something about a government-supported national charity campaign and Timmy's Donuts rather than the government just outright fixing the shit I find deeply disturbing. Well, that's an interesting angle to get at, Vegetable Lasagna, because I totally agree with you. I think there is a really weird situation where we're turning this day that's supposed to be like a somber reflection of the genocide that has been committed against Indigenous people, and it's being turned into this kind of cynical event, and you have the government sort of saying all the words about truth and reconciliation and all this stuff while not actually taking any actions on that. I 100% agree with you. I absolutely agree. I think we can still try and have discussions about this and try and learn about this issue on this day. I think it's important to do that, but I totally agree with what you're saying. It does seem like it's being commodified in a little bit. let's actually start talking about this now. This is a good way to get into it. And to Vegetable Lasagna's point, one of the things that I wanted to watch it, let's look at, I mean, there's other content I have planned to look at. I did want to, I'm still hoping possibly we might get a cameo from my friend Pam Palmater. She's very busy today, and I like I was mentioning before, like an asshole, I kind of waited till the absolute last moment to contact her. So I don't know if that's going to be possible. But this is if Pam is able to come on and talk to us, this is something we can bring up because and she'll be able to speak expertly on this. But one thing that I wanted to look at was Justin Trudeau's speech about this today. And let's Vegetable Lasagna, actually, thank you for bringing this up. This is actually a very important angle to talk about, to get into with this, and talk about the ways that Justin Trudeau, as I've talked about many times on this program, will use this language about, truth and reconciliation, and talking about, healing these wounds, and he says these words, and it's completely bereft of any actual action to for instance, act on any of the measures that were recommended in the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. Justin Trudeau is really an expert at saying the words and sounding sincere when he says the words, while not actually connecting that with any meaningful action on the part of the government. I saw too, just in the way that it's being sort of commodified as well. You couldn't imagine, there's all this almost like a festival kind of culture propping up around Orange Shirt Day in Canada. It's almost turning into this celebration, which you can't imagine Remembrance Day. Remembrance Day, and everyone's got to wear the poppies, and we have to do the moment of silence, and we've all got so serious about our poppies. And we have to be somber, a day of somber reflection. And, Orange Shirt Day in Canada is turning into the total opposite of that. And it's very kind of disturbing. This could be a good day for Indigenous peoples to host virtual events to help inform Canadians about issues in their communities. And I do see a little bit of that has been going on. I mean, it's going on even here on Twitch. Friend of the stream, Lost Sue, is someone that I recommend people follow, who talks about this stuff every single day. And he's streaming today. But let's start off by watching. Maybe we don't need to watch this whole speech from Justin Trudeau, but let's hear from Justin Trudeau when we want to talk about the ways that Trudeau is this master of, like I was saying. Whoa, no, not what I want. I'm on the wrong thing again.
That into action. So it was.
He's just an expert at saying the words and sounding sincere, while not actually using the power that he has to meaningfully change anything or actually walk this path of reconciliation, which he often talks about. And just for those asking, Orange Shirt Day, I think, Johnny, you were asking this, is the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. It's colloquially known as Orange Shirt Day. It's a Canadian statutory holiday to recognize the legacy of the Canadian Indian residential school system. So let's hear from... Yeah, Genocide Donut. That's what I mean. That's absolutely right. Vegetable Lasagna is absolutely right to point out how cynical and gross this is. How Tim Hortons is engaging in this kind of thing. It's fucking weird, actually. We're talking about genocide. We're talking about the foundation of this country, the violent settling of this country, the violent genocide that was committed against Indigenous people. And the way that it is being kind of commodified is extremely fucking disturbing.
I'm Shane Gottfredson, former chief at the Kamloops, the Secwepemc, former tribal chief of the Shuswap Nation, former regional chief of British Columbia, and co-franchise owner of 490 Powwow Trail, Tim Hortons, Kamloops, British Columbia. We're a fairly new restaurant. We've been open for 4 years, and we're very excited to be a part of the Tim's family and employing so many people. Our community prides itself on supporting entrepreneurs and Indigenous-owned businesses. It makes me very proud to be a part of the Tim's family.
You're saying we should not have genocide donuts. I don't think we should, no. Tim Hortons is owned by a Brazilian hedge fund.
Truth to the fact of what really happened.
Let's not look too deeply into how Brazil treats its indigenous population as well in the Amazon rainforest. What was the Alberta politician who said Happy Orange Shirt Day and posted a picture of him with a Timmy's Trauma donut? I did not see that one. If someone can find that in the chat though and link to it, I would be happy to show it. Happy Orange Shirt Day. No, it's true. It's absolutely true. I thought the Wet'suwet'en declared Truth and Reconciliation dead. Well, this is what I mean. It's like this is the way Canada operates, right? We commission this Truth and Reconciliation Commission gets created. You know, it gets talked about a lot. A lot of research is done. It comes out with like some very well documented evidence of like major crimes and genocide that was committed, and very specific recommendations for how to move forward and heal these wounds. And then what we do is we have like Orange Shirt Day and Tim Hortons makes orange donuts, and we don't actually act on any of these like recommendations that were made in the TRC. If anything, we have like a media debate about, you know, what, did we commit genocide? Did we not commit genocide? Well, some people say we do. Here's a man that says that that's actually disrespectful to other victims of genocide. Like, that's basically how we treat it. We think that it's enough to engage in the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. But when it comes to actually implementing any of the recommendations that this commission makes, of course, we say like, whoa, that's taking things a little bit too far here. Because then that takes away from our sense of like national identity. The Timmy's Genocide Donut is literally exactly like the Nathan Few ep where he tries to market Holocaust soft shell athletic clothing.
A lot of our team members had family members that attended Indian residential schools, so it hit us near and dear right to the heart as well. The burial site is not very far away from us. We've had so many guests from all over the world coming and paying their respects to the lost souls. It's been overwhelming at times for a lot of our team members, and very emotional for some people when they come in. Some of the guests have had family members that have been lost.
Like, this is an advertisement for a restaurant chain. Like, when you strip away...
So we're very honored that through the Tim Hortons Orange Donut, Tim Hortons, along with our owners, are working in partnership from coast to coast to be able to raise awareness and educate so many people, plus help two organizations that do a lot of social benefits for many, many Indigenous people and many Indigenous communities. Support the Orange Donut, support the Every Child Matters movement, be an agent of change. Your donations
be an agent
will go
of
to
change.
A very worthy cause that will help many, many individuals and many, many families from coast to coast.
Why doesn't Tim Hortons, again owned by a Brazilian hedge fund, just donate a few $1 million to the Residential School Survivors Foundation? Why don't they just do that? This is a multi-billion-dollar restaurant chain. Maybe they should just take some of those billions of dollars of profits that they make every year and just give it to the fucking Residential School Survivors Foundation and shut up about it and don't talk about it. Right? Maybe they could do that.
Count on me. You're gonna have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Use your pocket change to become an agent of change.
Thank you, JW Grimey, for the 6 months of Tier 1. And here I am commodifying it here on Twitch as well, by the way. So I'm part of this like cynical fucking Ouroboros of commodification of trauma and shame and all this bullshit. Here I am myself also being part of that. But you know, why doesn't Tim Hortons multi-billion-dollar restaurant chain, Tim Hortons, just donate to the Survivors Fund without turning it into this cynical advertising opportunity? You know? Rob is just the same as the Brazilian government. It's absolutely true. It's absolutely true. Vegetable lasagna. Vegetable lasagna, new community member, and I think has come in here with some great stuff so far. Oh my goodness. Today's Orange Shirt Day, and I'm getting Tim Hortons Orange Sprinkle Donut in support of Orange Shirt Day. Let us learn from our tragic past and move towards a better future for all. Happy Orange Shirt Day. Jesus. Yeah. He's not even wearing an orange shirt. Like, if you hate genocide, remember to vote with your dollar and buy a shitty orange pastry. That's right. And we're going to pass along some of those profits to residential school survivors after, of course, our CEOs and shareholders get paid out. Absolutely. Fucking weird. Anyway, let's hear from Trudeau about this. I don't want to hear the whole thing. It's maybe the short version is probably better.
How many times do Indigenous peoples need to tell their stories of trauma?
You're the Prime Minister, sir.
Of pain, of grief.
And look, he's got the crying face. This man is such a fucking cynical liar. He's got the crying. He's barely containing his emotion. He's barely containing his emotions. And this is the Prime Minister. This man has so much power to actually take actions to heal these wounds. You know, we're talking specifically about residential schools. Why don't we take some of the teachers and priests that are still alive today, that were part of this residential school system, and maybe hold them accountable for committing very serious crimes, including sexual assault, murder, genocide. Maybe we can do that. Like, that's something that's in the government's power to do. There's Indigenous communities that still don't have clean drinking water. Right? What is the government? What's the fucking holdup? This guy's been Prime Minister now for 7 years. He's wearing an orange shirt and a tiny orange shirt pin. God, I've been 11 seconds into this video and I'm already just fucking raging here. Look at the crying face, though. This man is such a cynical bastard.
How many times do Indigenous peoples need to tell their stories of trauma?
Look at his face. Come on. Come on now. How about remove the Catholic Church's religious exemption, since it's clearly an international criminal organization? Why not? Why not do that? Yeah. Canadian upper class white people love this corny fucking suit jacket and sweater vest look. Does the shirt pin have its own shirt pin? It's orange shirtception. Contemporary liberalism is describing the problem back to you in the manner of a weather report. Yeah. This is just unbelievable. This shit is just unbelievable.
Of loss, of pain, of grief.
We're all looking for the guy who did
Until
this.
we absorb those stories as non-Indigenous people and make them our own, because they too are the story of Canada, and therefore they too are the story of each of us.
And listen, I know I'm going off about how this guy hasn't done anything. Well, that's not true, because when a lot of these unmarked graves were being discovered outside these sites of former residential schools, well, this man bravely and heroically lowered flags, lowered the symbol of violence and genocide, Canadian flag, lowered them to half-mast for a few months before putting them back. So let's not say he doesn't do anything. Let's not say this man has done nothing. There were flags that were lowered, okay, for a few months. Again, folks, like the last residential school closed in 1997. There are still people today, alive today, priests and teachers that worked at these schools that are responsible for serious crimes. The government knows who they are. They have the names of these people. End all tax breaks to the church and sue them for reparations. I'm just saying it would be an interesting Orange Shirt Day tradition. That would be actually doing something. And here's this guy talking about how many times must they tell these stories? What are your feelings on the fact that Trudeau is definitely Fidel Castro's son? I mean, it would fit into the larger scheme of like failed children of prominent socialists who have become neoliberal leaders like Kamala Harris, like Pete Buttigieg, and Trudeau would fit into that as well. You tell me, Justin, you're literally the state. You're literally the state, sir. Don't clap.
We talk about what happened in residential schools, where systematically, deliberately.
What role did your father play in this, by the way,
children
Justin? Not Fidel. Pierre.
We're taught that they had no worth, no value to their language, to their culture, to their identity, to their traditional knowledges, to their aunties and elders' teachings. That was what residential schools did to generations of Indigenous people who carry that trauma still today. But let us not forget that every single school across this country through all those decades was also a residential school in the way that it taught non-Indigenous people that Indigenous people had no worth, had no culture, had no language. And we carry that untruth in our learnings directly from when we were kids in school. But we carry
what was the deal with
also
that Indian
learning
Act? Let's talk about that.
built
Yeah.
into the very stones of our institutions, to the systems that surround us. Lack of value, of respect, of celebration of Indigenous languages, culture, and identity is woven into the fabric of every part of this country, because for so many years it was taught the same way it was being taught in horrific ways, or attempted to be taught in horrific ways, to Indigenous kids.
This is an important point too. For liberals, the crime is always in the past. And I think it's really important when you talk about the residential school system, which ended in 97, as I mentioned. The idea that this system never even really went away. What it did was it transitioned into the foster care system. So even if you want to frame this as being some crime from the past, even if you want to do that, even though the fucking late 90s are, I mean, that's the nostalgia that I was doing earlier. That's in living memory for a lot of people. There's Indigenous children today, this year, right now, dying in the foster care system. Dozens of kids have died in the last several years. Dozens of Indigenous children have died in the foster care system right now. Still currently happening right now. Indigenous women and girls still being murdered and going missing with no justice, no recourse. Like this, the lack of drinking water, the lack of infrastructure, still happening today. So even if you want to frame the late 90s as being the when this stopped, it's not true. And that's what the report on missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls points out. That's what the Truth and Reconciliation Commission pointed out. It's still continuing to this day. It never went away. Canada stays selling Indigenous children to white families. Still happening right now. And you'd think the Prime Minister of this country would be aware of that and would maybe take steps to amend that injustice that's going on currently, rather than just like pretending to cry on Orange Shirt Day and then just moving on with his life immediately afterwards. Or were those moonlight tours? I'm having trouble remembering the term. Starlight tours. Starlight tours, the practice when police officers would take predominantly Indigenous people, drive them out to the edge of town, and leave them to die of exposure in the middle of nowhere. And this practice was discovered in the early 2000s, and we know of several incidents where this took place that we know of, and we know for sure this practice has been going on for fucking generations. in this country, and frankly is probably still going on today. It's another thing that's happening currently ongoing today. Our prison system disproportionately filled with indigenous people today, right now, not in the past. Not in the past, not in the late 90s, not in the 60s, not in the 1800s, right now, currently today. Canada also doing eugenics, open eugenics against disabled people. Guess who's highly represented in the disabled population? So when you hear Trudeau talk about this and do this kind of the crying face and do this very drama teacher, drama student fucking act about how contrite and sorry he is about all this happened, remember that all this stuff is still currently going on right now. Like, that's really important to never lose sight of that.
In residential schools. So this day is not just about Indigenous people or Indigenous reconciliation. It is about truth. And that truth is we all need to open our eyes to the truth of
that
how
truth
Canada
is we need to open our eyes to the truth. Fucking great speech, you
evolved
loser.
and came to be. And how we need to make deliberate choices to undo the falsehoods and the wrongness that is part of it. But when I look, this beautiful park filled with hopeful, positive faces, strong Indigenous children, allies of every different background, as Canada represents in the best of it. We know we are on the right track. We are on the path, and it is going to take many years. But we must today and every day
We're not on the
rededicate
path.
ourselves to that.
Again, he keeps talking about this path of reconciliation we're on when all this shit is still ongoing. Human trafficking of Indigenous women across the Great Lakes and put into the sex trade and other things still going on. And this country thinks it has the moral standing to dictate about sovereignty and self-determination in Ukraine or elsewhere else. Anywhere else, what about Wet'suwet'en sovereignty? I mean, or things like cultural genocide elsewhere. We love to lecture other countries about sovereignty and treating religious minorities and indigenous populations with dignity and respect. We love lecturing other countries about that. Jesus Christ.
And what a privilege to be able to do it this morning in the presence of Phyllis Webstad, whose courage in sharing her own story
I am interested, Lana.
helped mobilize people, including all of us, across this country. I look out into this crowd, and every orange shirt is an act of solidarity with Phyllis's story and the experience of survivors. Pour ceux qui ne le savent pas, Phyllis est une survivante.
Sorry, and let me see. I hope this is the right clip. Same guy. Same guy.
And we came forward with a different approach. An approach that said the way to grow a strong economy in the 21st century is by making sure that everyone has a real and fair chance to succeed. That we invest.
That bigger wig, that Adolf Reed quote is so great. It's so pertinent. Liberals don't really believe in politics anymore. They just believe in bearing witness to suffering. It's perfect. Exactly.
Invest in the middle class and in people working hard to join it. Thank you very much. Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you.
People in grassy narrows are suffering from mercury poisoning.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you very much for your donation tonight. I really appreciate the donation to the Liberal Party of Canada.
Yeah. This man is really serious about walking that path of reconciliation, isn't he? Trudeau is such a pompous prick. Yes, he is. Fucking unbelievable. Like, seriously. This fucking guy. I think it's important to watch those two clips back to back. The rehearsed soft breathy thing he does to sound like a small bean. Yeah. What is this? The oh, I've been meaning to watch this. Thanks, Lana, because I've been meaning to watch this. I don't know totally if I'll have time to get to it today. This what gives imperialists the right to use the word democracy, but I have this in the queue. This is on the level of Obama sipping the water in Flint. Let's just watch this again, like this fucking smug prick.
Succeed. That we invest in the middle class and in people working hard to join it. Thank you very much. Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you.
People in grassy narrows are suffering from mercury poisoning.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you very much for your donation tonight. I really appreciate the donation to the Liberal Party of Canada. And as we know,
look at that. Look at the face. Okay, look, I want to compare and contrast two things here. I want to compare and contrast. Shit. Duplicate that.
And we came forward with a different approach.
How many times do Indigenous peoples need to tell their stories of trauma?
How many times do they have to tell their stories of trauma? Look at the face. Look at the face. How many times do Indigenous people have to tell their stories of trauma? Well, here's an Indigenous person immediately after telling their story of trauma at a fucking press conference. He's doing the fucking DreamWorks face. He looks like a DreamWorks character. Fucking unbelievable, this guy. Unbelievable. Just enraging.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
He practiced in front of a mirror like a TikTok influencer, for sure. Yeah. Dimitri, thank you so much for another gifted sub to Hella Brad. Thank you. And the award goes to Trudeau for totally faking it. Again, it's drama teacher shit. He does do a DreamWorks face. It is. That's how much he fucking cares about this stuff. God damn. Next year he's going to be wearing a giant orange shirt like that one Kanye performance. Rob, why are you deliberately putting me in incandescent rage? Sometimes we have to do that, though. Sometimes it's important. There are still 20 First Nations just in Ontario that have long-term drinking water advisories. I was up in Ibematong FN in 20 years ago and they had boiled water advisory. They still do. And you hear Justin Trudeau talk about this shit, and it's just like, it's not just about money. It's not just about putting money towards this, throwing money at it. But it's like, yes, it is. It is about that. Clearly, we're not throwing enough money at it. Obviously, that's how you fucking upgrade infrastructure. Like, there are these First Nations communities that have to get drinking water from Walmart or whatever. They got to drive to drive for fucking hours to get to Walmart sometime. Like, they buy plastic bottled water at these drastically inflated prices. They say that like money wouldn't be a tremendous help. Like, well, you don't do anything else either. Just give the money. You throw money at it. Yes. Please throw money at it. Jesus. It is just enraging, isn't it? No, that money goes to Ukraine. That's right. You got to give that to Ukraine. We got to protect the indigenous sovereignty of the indigenous people of Ukraine. We've got to train fascists there, fascist militias, to fight the dastardly Russians. They want the land to be unlivable so that the people finally leave or die. That does seem to be the way it is, doesn't it? It really does. The U.S. gave $12 billion more in military aid. Well, that's what I was talking about too, with like the gains that the Ukrainian military has been making lately. And people are like shocked by this. And it's like, yeah, I hope they're making gains with the amount of fucking funding they're getting. The indigenous Azov peoples, that's right. Those are the indigenous people the Canadian government really cares about. Not so much the people that we committed genocide against, you know? Not so much them. Anyway, I wanted to talk a little bit about giving land back to indigenous people. Because that's, in terms of like concrete things we're doing, when we're walking the path of reconciliation, it's not just about donuts or wearing certain colored shirts, right? There needs to be concrete actions that are taken. We've gone over a couple of concrete actions I could actually be taking a look at. But one concrete action as well, when it comes to walking this path of reconciliation, as Trudeau talks about, is giving land back to indigenous people. So I mentioned my friend Pam Palmater. I think it's unlikely that she's going to be able to drop by the stream today because she's busy today, obviously. But here's a video that Pam did for The Breach, which is another publication that I've done some work with before, talking about this issue. Because giving land back to indigenous people is a concrete thing that could be done as well to help us walk this path of reconciliation rather than just like eating donuts and wearing t-shirts. Hey, Oscar, what's up? So here's Pam on LANDBACK with The Breach.
Over the last few years, we've begun hearing the cry of a powerful slogan in Canada, Land Back. While the slogan is new, the demand is not. Native youth have elevated a truth that we've long understood. A just path forward is impossible without the return of stolen land.
And again, as much as our friends in the patriotic socialist community or the MAGA communist community, or whatever they're fucking calling themselves these days, or even some of our like our rad lib friends as well, that think land back means like white genocide. It means going into the fucking suburbs and just like throwing people out on the street, which is actually something that I would support. But that's not what it is. That's not what the idea of land back is, and that's something we need to keep in mind as well. Any communist that's against land back can go fuck themselves. Couldn't agree more, Johnny.
Settler governments have always wanted our lands, and they've taken them by whatever means necessary. In the Atlantic region, Governor Cornwallis issued a proclamation in 1749 offering a bounty on my ancestors' lives.
No, we know, Lana.
In the prairies, the Canadian government pushed us off our lands using the violence of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, by withholding food rations to starve us into submission, and by deliberately mistranslating treaties. Attacking Native bodies and spirits was a central part of this process of dispossession. Residential schools, Christianity, patriarchal control, and sexualized violence all function to attack our laws, relationships, and economies in order to break our connections to each other and to the land. Vast Native territories that we managed according to our own governance systems were reduced to a tiny patchwork of reserves. Today, Indian reserves account for just 0.2% of the land. Think Canada's treatment of First Nations was far more humane than the United States? Consider this. The Navajo Nation's reservation is larger than all of the reserves in Canada put together.
Jesus.
Nearly all of Canada is considered Crown land and technically owned by one foreign family, the monarchs in Buckingham Palace. How did the Queen become the landlord? The racist legal fiction that no Indigenous laws existed in North America and that only the Crown could properly own land.
Lizzie's in a box.
For generations, the government has rented, sold, and leased this land, usually at bargain basement prices, to multinational companies who make enormous profits. So you can see, First Nation poverty isn't an accident. It's an intentional and direct result of this dispossession. We have never accepted Canada's genocide of our peoples and its theft of our lands, and for generations we've demanded our land rights be respected. The government's own royal commissions have supported this call for land back. Even the Supreme Court of Canada has handed down several...
When you look into how much of the world's land is owned by the Crown, it's mind-melting. And that's what I mean when we talk about land back. It's not about kicking fucking white people out of their shitty houses, but restoring these Crown lands, which are just like these vast swaths of land and resources, and putting them back into the hands of Indigenous people, rather than this completely unaccountable system of this foreign royal family that has nothing to do with this country, and these massive multi-billion-dollar conglomerates, energy conglomerates. You know, that's what it is.
Historic rulings that confirm Aboriginal title, which means First Nations own the lands, should be the ones governing the lands and deciding who gets to benefit from those lands. But the Canadian government has time and again refused to respect and implement these court decisions, breaking its own laws. And land theft isn't something of the past. It's still happening today, driven by the endless drive for growth and profits and the racist denial of First Nation jurisdiction. When we go out into our territories to stop unwanted projects or hunt and fish, Canada pulls out the big guns. But who's the thief? And who's being robbed? Canada pursues us relentlessly in fevered attempts to get us to extinguish the rights to our territories, rivers, forests, mountains, farmlands, and everything underneath, under the duress of poverty.
We use the computer to mark up the size of the account.
The Bolsheviks did nothing wrong in that basement.
Thank you, Dimitri, for the 200 friend coin. Of course, I would never on Twitch agree with any statement like that, but I do believe in the marketplace of ideas. And I may disagree with what you say, sir, but I will defend to the death your right to say it. Okay?
Removals or incarceration. It's long past time for a reset. Would land back mean putting non-native
all the
people on
canning
boats
they were doing,
back
that's right,
to their countries of origin? No. What we should be imagining is what Canada could look like if we started returning so-called Crown lands back to First Nations. Who would you rather control these enormous areas? Corporations who only see in the land dollar signs over the next financial quarter? Or First Nations who have been taking care of the lands for generations? Instead of getting a permit from the government to destroy the land, companies would need a permit from our nations to responsibly use the land. As the rightful caretakers of the lands, First Nations could insist on sustainable logging, ecotourism, and responsible development. In place of dams, mines, and pipelines, lands returned to First Nations could host solar and wind farms, helping power a new post-carbon economy. If First Nation lands were still used for sustainable and responsible resource extraction, then First Nations would be the ones to decide how and where and who benefits. For the lands and resources that have been irreparably damaged or sold to third parties, they would pay us reparations for the loss of past and future use. It's worth remembering that even though Indigenous peoples make up less than 5% of the world's population, we protect 80% of global biodiversity. More land in First Nations control means a safer climate for everyone. This redistribution of resources and power would usher in a change in Canada's outlook. First Nation jurisdiction over lands and waters would not only be a matter of justice, but a pathway for Canada to a more sustainable relationship to the natural world. If Canada is interested in a real nation-to-nations relationship, land back is how we do it. My style as a prof is not to sugar.
Great video from Pam. And I wanted to get to something too. I don't know if anyone saw this. Someone said racist assholes literally think land back just means return to monkey. I saw Ryan Cooper. You know Ryan Cooper, which is like a sort of like left liberal writer that I used to like quite a lot, who's just been racking up L's lately. And he read some paper about land back and described it as blood and soil nationalism for indigenous people. This is what fucking this guy is someone I used to respect and has just been unbelievably shitty on a number of issues lately. And that was another in a long string of Ryan Cooper L's lately. I think he might have deleted it. I just looked for it so we could find it and make fun of it, but I think he deleted it. Yeah, this is the thing. Mr. Biden ended the drone war. That's right. Yeah. You see, the indigenous people are the real Nazis. How fucking unbelievably dim do you have to be to believe that? Imperial nationalism versus oppressed nationalism is a hard concept for the small-brained, bootlicking liberals. That's why we need to respect the DPRK, right? Kim Jong-il wrote very eloquently about this, if I remember correctly. Blood and soil nationalism for indigenous people. I'm trying to find I think he deleted it. I saw a lot of discourse about it. Now I can't find fucking anything on it. No, it's still there. Still there. Like, there's no excuse. It's 2022. There's no excuse to have this kind of a fucking take. And of course, turns off replies as well. He says, read part of a paper that was basically blood and soil nationalism, but for indigenous peoples. Fucking dumbass. And I wanted to put this clip of Pam and Riley Yesno as well. And I actually have to go to the bathroom as well, so perhaps I could.
And we can't.
How many times?
I'm sorry you have to keep hearing that. Yeah, let me just throw on this clip as well. And I'm going to, this is from earlier this year. Let's put this on with Pam and Riley Yesno, who's another person that I worked with on The Breach, a very cool person as well. Let me put that on. I'm actually just going to go to the bathroom. I'll be right back, but I'm going to throw this on in the meantime. Don't go anywhere.
If it's quite new that the federal government is talking about land back, it is not new that Indigenous peoples are. With us now for some perspective on that, in the provincial capital, Pamela Palmater, professor and chair in Indigenous governance at Ryerson University, and Riley Yesno, research fellow at the Yellowhead Institute and a PhD student in political science at the University of Toronto, investigating Indigenous social movements. And it's good to have you two back on TVO tonight. Let me just start by I really want to get your understanding of what you think land back means and sort of compare it to what the minister thinks it means. Pamela, get us started here. What do those two words mean to you?
Well, to us, it's the same thing that it's meant since basically after contact, that it's land back, like actual land back. It's actual resources back. It's respect for our right to be self-determining. It's our children back, our women back. All of the things that Canada has tried to take from us, we just want that back. Does it mean that non-Native people are kicked out of their homes? Absolutely not, because the majority of lands in Canada are held by governments.
Okay, that's a lot more than just land, so that's good to get that clarified. Your definition of it obviously goes much beyond the simple return of land. Riley, let me get you on the record on that as well.
Yeah. I would say that my definition is quite similar in the same spirit. I kind of define land back usually as any action that centers placing jurisdiction, authority, resources back into the hands of Indigenous people. So, especially those things that were harmed or taken through colonialism. And like Pam said, it is more than just it is more than just land, and it is something that we can chart through a long history of Indigenous contestation marked by like a very distinctly anti-colonial spirit. And so anything that you can identify that in, I think often constitutes land back.
Okay, for the moment, let us just focus on the actual land itself, though. And Pamela, I'll pick this up with you. And you hinted at it in your first answer. If you are a non-Indigenous person watching this or listening to this, you may be very skeptical about how the notion of land back won't be a bad thing for you. Can you explain to that audience how this may actually be a good thing for them?
Oh, it's a good thing in so many ways. So first of all, it's not taking their land or property away from them. Governments can compensate us for lands that we can't have. But it's about things like joint governance. It's about community building. It's about sharing the resources. And it's also about addressing climate change. If you think about Indigenous peoples who are on the front line trying to protect the lands from contamination and waters from being poisoned, that benefits everyone. And the way to do that is to respect and honor land back for Indigenous peoples.
Riley, could you pick up on that? Is there anything you'd add?
Yeah, I think that there's often a misunderstanding on the part of people who are skeptical of land back. One is this practical understanding that most of Canada is not private property. So the lands that we're often talking about in land back is not, it's not necessarily your cottage or downtown Toronto, but instead the majority of Canadian land, which is currently Crown land. So practically, I think the picture of what land we're talking about is often misconstrued. But also, I think that there's often this very violent, misplaced logic that makes people scared to embrace land back. And that stems from this place, I think, that they think that if Indigenous people were to regain authority, were to regain jurisdiction, that we would do the same thing to them that colonizers did to us. And that,
this is what we were talking about.
Completely wrong. It is never the vision that Indigenous people had about living on the land together. We can look at the earliest treaties, the two-row wampum belt, and see that there was always a vision of living together collaboratively with reciprocity, sharing in a peaceful way, informed by friendship and respect. And so, this logic that somehow it would be bad for them is, I think, a colonial myth.
Maybe you could, as long as you've got the floor, Riley, just take us back, because you did touch on a bit of a history lesson there. Go back in time. How did the Crown end up being responsible for / governing over unceded territory to begin with? Take us back.
Yeah, so the treaty that I mentioned is the two-row wampum belt. That's a treaty made between the Haudenosaunee and the Dutch, actually. And what it symbolizes, though, is you'll see two rows of purple beads that represent the settler and the Indigenous ways of knowing, of governance, of existing on the land, shared on the belt, and in between principles of, as I mentioned, peace, friendship, and reciprocity. So that's sometimes considered the earliest treaty between Indigenous and non-Indigenous people in North America. But go forward about 100, 200 years in there, we get things like the Royal Proclamation. We get things like the numbered treaties, and we know that oftentimes those original principles that I just described became abandoned on the part of settlers, became misconstrued in people's minds. And when treaties, which would become, the basis for a lot of the governing relations between Indigenous and non-Indigenous people were signed, they were deliberately, misinterpreted, that they were signed under conditions of duress, oftentimes. And so we see over the course of a couple hundred years, this slow leaving of those original principles that, could have made Canada something entirely different than what it is now.
And Pamela, perhaps you could pick up the story and talk about the situations where land was, by treaty, ceded. There was an agreement. And then, if you would, sort of characterize how well or not you think those treaties are working today.
I think that's one of the most important questions for Canadians to actually understand, because we know there's parts of Canada where there's no treaties. We know there's parts of Canada where there are pre-Confederation treaties that don't talk about land, but the numbered treaties have always been alleged to have ceded lands, and there's treaties here in Ontario that are alleged to have ceded lands. Well, the United Nations did a study on this in the 1990s and traveled to countries all over the world with colonial governments and Indigenous populations and looked at treaties and agreements. And based on all the evidence they collected from governments and the historical record and Indigenous.
Dimitri and Johnny, I'll look into Gerald Horn and getting him on here, because I will take both of your recommendations on this. Sounds like something that could be really good.
Indigenous peoples, they came to the conclusion that there was no coming to the minds, no mutual understanding of lands being ceded. And in fact, if we were to put that before a court that was unbiased, those land cession portions in those treaties would not stand up to the law, because there was things like undue duress, there was purposeful mistranslations, there was forced starvations, all of those things which vitiate consent in law, even back then.
So, Pamela, in your view then, and again, if an unbiased, as you put it, court were to look at it today, what do you believe the state of those lands today to be?
Well, I think they're all unceded. Any pre-Confederation or historical treaty, they are all unceded lands, which means they're Aboriginal title lands. Does that change the fact that we are in treaty relationships? Absolutely not. We work together, live together, we're intermarried, we're trying to work together on a nation-to-nation basis. But in terms of whose land is it, I think there's absolutely no question in international law or Indigenous law and growing here in Canada that it's Indigenous land.
All right. Riley, let me get you back in here. The minister, whom we just spoke to, says that this land ownership issue is complicated, and it is not simply, because I put it to him, I said, you know, if you want to give land back, here's the deed, give it back. And he said, well, it's a little more complicated than that. Is it more complicated than that in your view?
In my view, not really. I mean, I think that the government would really like us to think that it's much more of a complex process than it is, when in fact, Indigenous people all across Turtle Island right now are living sovereignty. They know that they have jurisdiction and authority over their land. They are practicing their governing relations in a traditional way in many cases. We can just take Wet'suwet'en out west, an example many folks would know, for example. But so it's not a matter of like, how do we get them to do it? Indigenous people are already doing it. It's just a matter of the government respecting them doing that. And that's where it seems to get that complicated sort of narrative around it. I think I'm very worried at this stage that the government is going to co-opt the meaning of land back to be things like addition to reserve processes, make land claims go through the courts faster. But when it comes down to Indigenous people just enacting sovereignty without asking for permission, that's where we will continue to see violence and disrespect and a refusal to actually engage in meaningful nation-to-nation relationships. And so I think it's a lot simpler, actually, than perhaps Minister Miller makes it out to be.
Well, okay, let me pursue that with Pamela, because, of course, you know, Minister Miller is taking into account there are government departments and courts and land title and ownership and treaties and on and on and on, and First Nations that have to be negotiated with and so on. So the way he portrays it, it does sound complicated. Pamela, is it as simple as saying, this is your land, we have it now, we want to give it back to you, here it is? Is it more complicated than that?
Not at its core. And that's the thing. You can make this as difficult and time intensive and expensive as you want to as a government, or you can come to the table and do lots of things in the interim. For example, let the Wet'suwet'en Nation govern their own territory.
Thanks for all the resources here, chat. Dimitri and others. I'm saving these interviews with Dr. Horn right now. Definitely something I'm going to be looking into in the future for future content here on this program. Pretty sure we need to frack on that land. That's true. That's good. I don't know if Pam or Riley have considered this important counter to what they're saying. Sort of leave you with a video running there. I had to go to the bathroom. I had to have a little small snack. Just a little snack.
Let the Mi'kmaq Nation govern their own territory. You can do things like exempt them from different laws. You can do things like start sharing resources right away that doesn't require any negotiations.
Steve Pelkin seems like to be more okay than other Canadian TV show hosts, which I guess isn't saying much. No, it isn't. And I think in many ways he is kind of a liberal, sort of a dipshit. I know he's definitely had some very liberal stances on things over the past, but I mean, to say one thing, at least you can have Riley and Pam come on to talk about this stuff, which is more than you can say about a lot of other journalists in this country or in the United States.
When you're talking about which territories and where we're going to have shared jurisdiction and exclusive jurisdiction for government, sure, that's going to be sitting down at the table and talking about that. However, there's nothing stopping them now from actually respecting the fact that it's our land.
He likes to play,
and that we have the right to.
Seriously, vegetable lasagna. He's responsible for Jordan Peterson, one. And yes, he likes to play devil's advocate with leftists and kid gloves to right-wing figures. It's a pattern. And talk about, that's liberalism 101. That's liberalism like journalist J School, liberal J School 101. Devil's advocate with leftists and kid gloves to right-wing figures. It is a pattern, isn't it?
To protect it if we want to, and that we have the right to have internal discussions or disagreements or work things out for ourselves if we want to. And it is as simple as that. They just choose not to.
Well, okay, let me understand that better, Pamela, because you're saying there's nothing stopping them now from doing just that, but it isn't happening. So something's stopping them. What do you think is stopping them?
I wonder, Steve.
Well, we all know all of this has been very much politicized.
I wonder
and
what's
they
stopping
cater
them.
Very much. Keep in mind, this is about politics. This is also about elections, and they carry very much to massive transnational corporations who believe they have interests in our territories, who are making tons of money off our territories. It's also about the different politics across the country, their voter base, whether that would ring favorably or not. All of the considerations that are in fact not relevant to an idea of land back and what they could do right now. And I think it's also very important for our viewers to understand that Canada has now declared that the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples is applicable law in Canada. That protects our rights to govern all of our traditional lands and resources. So the minimum standard now has been raised, and Canada's just a little bit slow on the draw to get to it.
Yeah, Roddy, can you pick up on that? Canada has signed on to UNDRIP. What does that obligate the government of Canada to do that, in your view, it is not yet doing?
Turns out not so much.
Yeah, I mean, so UNDRIP is a little bit out of my realm of expertise. However, from my understanding, it's exactly what Pam was just talking about, right? Like about ensuring our rights, making sure that in the most global of senses, that it's understood that we have a right to govern ourselves, we have a right to live good lives on our territory, we have a right to be authorities over our own lands and our resources, whether we do or do not want to engage in resource extraction processes, etc. And those are all conditions that are repeatedly violated by the Canadian state, by the Canadian government. We can see it in Wet'suwet'en, we can see it at 1492 LANDBACK Lane, repeatedly throughout history, and even after the point where Canada was supposed to accept UNDRIP, do they continue to renege on those obligations? That would make that LANDBACK actually falls very, very nicely into what UNDRIP is trying to secure for Indigenous people.
I should actually get off this path right now because we've got another guest coming up right after you two who will speak to the UNDRIP situation. So I'm going to hold off on that for now and pursue that more with our next guest. But Pamela, tell me this. I do hear anecdotes from time to time about, for example, non-Indigenous Canadians saying that when they die, they will in their will, pass on, for example, their cottages to the local First Nations as a way of making land back truly happen if not necessarily in their lifetime, but then at some point in the life of the community.
I don't think that's what we had in mind, Steve, giving cottages fucking 40 years from now. I don't think that's quite what we had in mind, frankly. I wish the land back argument didn't have to focus on how that benefits white people and instead just focus on why this is good for Indigenous justice. I get why it happens given vocal critics, but it feels sometimes like it validates their concerns in taking white genocide and other stupid things seriously. Yeah. I mean, it just speaks to the level of discourse that surrounds this, where it's just like, it's become the idea of giving land back to Indigenous people has just become so distorted and so controversial that we spend more time dispelling these weird myths and weird ideas that people have about it rather than actually just talking about what it actually is and what it does. And I think you're right that it's like, because we live in this settler society, everything is framed through that lens of how it affects the settlers. And the idea that that should just not really be a consideration is never really entered into the conversation. Instead of just focusing on how it affects Indigenous people and Indigenous communities and how it helps us restore a sense of like justice to the Indigenous communities that we committed genocide against. But because we live in this settler society, that's how everything is framed. But I think you're right. It is pretty ridiculous that this is the only way that we can ever talk about this. Like like trying to make white liberals and weird reactionaries feel more comfortable with the idea. Do the people gifting this land even actually own it, or does whatever real estate company or bank they pay the mortgage on own it? Yeah, this is a very white liberal version of giving land back. I'm going to donate my cottage to local First Nations. Like, fucking come on. It's like how you have to make the economic case for eliminating homelessness when you should just really be concerned about ending homelessness. That's right. It doesn't matter that it costs more to criminalize homelessness in the way that we do rather than just giving people housing. But it's like even if it didn't, we should still focus on ending homelessness regardless because it's fucking barbaric.
I hear that anecdotally. How much of that is going on actually?
I've actually seen it happen in different places across the country.
Low Pelicans.
I get contacted by private citizens and businesses who hold land.
Maybe if your economic system can't house homeless people, you should change it.
Land,
Agree.
Some of which I want to give land back to the local First Nation now, some of which I could bequeath in my will or when the lease is up or all of these other things. And I always direct them to the local First Nation. And I think that's key that you brought that up, Steve, because everybody is involved in making reparations for generations of genocide and the benefit that settlers have had.
Pam is being very nice about this.
All their land? No, of course not. Nobody's asking for that. No one's trying to push them out of any resource industries or anything else. This is just about fairness and what can you do? And some people have lots of plots of land. There's businesses who have unused land. It's such an easy thing to do in the here and now.
So, Riley, if you are a non-Indigenous Canadian and you are watching or listening to this and you think maybe government is dragging its feet a little too much on this, this is a real option in your
Pam's very good at being normal. It's true.
Canadians to take. Have I got that right?
Certainly, yes. And it doesn't have to just be, the bequeathing of land, because I think that oftentimes when we think of it like that, it can become, a project that's only available to the elites or to wealthy folks. But every single person has a role to play in land back. And so that could be, yes, doing something physical like the return of land or, making monthly donations to land trusts, which do exist all across Turtle Island as well. But there are other things you can do, right? Like when Indigenous people in your communities, in your proximity, are fighting for assertion of their rights, you can show up physically with your time, with your vote. You can show up and just do something as simple as pass out signs and keep the fire going. And that allows Indigenous land defenders to continue doing their work. When you go onto Indigenous territories, you can know and understand and follow their rules of law, just as you do the Canadian rules of law. That is affirming and legitimizing Indigenous people as, the governing authorities of their land. And so it can be those everyday sort of actions as opposed to also these grand gestures, which, are welcome but aren't necessarily accessible to every person.
Gotcha. All right, we've got a few minutes left here, and we have talked a lot about specifically land back so far. But Pamela, in your first answer, you did touch on the fact that land back, in your understanding of that term, goes much beyond that. And I wonder if you could pick up the story there. Beyond specifically the land, what else would you like to see happen? Over to you on beyond the actual land.
Okay. In addition to land, it also means resources back. Think about the vast natural resources all over the country, but not just natural resources, because not all Indigenous peoples want to extract natural resources like it's been done right now. It's also about the massive wealth that's been generated all over our territories. So a fair share of taxes, fees, license, permits, like all of those things, that royalties, everything, all the wealth that's generated and collected on our territories, especially from governments, a fair share needs to go to First Nation governments from whose those lands are being shared.
Or all of it, even.
And that is part of making sure that we have the wealth from our own territories to make our nation sustainable. And that's literally critical going forward. It doesn't change anything for non-Indigenous peoples. This is about government saying, yes, of all of these taxes, First Nations get a share of all of these things, plus any other wealth that's generated.
Yeah, if this was CBC, the rest of the lineup would be mining CEOs. Yeah, you have a little back and forth. And this, I've talked about this a number of times though, folks, but also like when it comes down to the question of like pipelines across Indigenous territory and this kind of stuff. I mean, it's a touchy subject because like a lot of people think that we should just be leaving the oil in the ground. There's a strong argument to make for that. These pipelines are often leaking and destroying natural resources and Indigenous territory, unceded land. That's very true. But it would be one thing if these pipelines, the natural gas and the oil that was flowing through these pipelines was actually like benefiting these communities. If these were nationalized and the profits from these natural resources were going into funding infrastructure for these communities, that would be one thing. We could have that conversation about whether the best thing to do is what the best thing to do, to leave the oil in the ground or to sell it or to nationalize it or what. But that is not what is happening. When the natural gas and the oil is taken away from these communities through these pipelines, it's not like the profits even though we hear a lot of language about how it benefits these communities, the profits are not going to the communities. The profits are going to not even Canadian companies, but foreign CEOs and shareholders of foreign oil companies. The oil is going to them. They're profiting from it. Their CEOs are profiting from it. Their shareholders are profiting from it. And some people that get jobs working on these oil rigs or oil fields or working on these pipeline projects, they will benefit from it. But we're talking about like a few hundred people here. The actual profits, I always talk about this when this comes up, profits versus jobs, right? Yes, some people working for these oil companies will get decent jobs. Some people, some Indigenous people even, will work for these companies and get decent jobs. The fucking profits, though, the profits are not going to Indigenous communities. The profits are going to foreign oil companies, other fossil fuel companies, shareholders, and CEOs. So whenever we talk about these pipeline projects, going, it's this huge benefit to these Indigenous communities. We did these negotiations because they benefit so much from it. They're not fucking benefiting from it. Nowhere near to the same extent that they could be, right? They could be benefiting from it a lot more if we actually nationalized these companies and if they were getting the profits from the oil and the natural gas and the logging and the resource extraction, right? Which is already being done unsustainably and is already environmentally dangerous. But they're not getting those profits, are they? They're not. No one in this country is getting the profits. These foreign oil companies are getting them. We export bitumen and buy the refined product back from the U.S. refineries that make the profits. Pipeline jobs disappear the minute the pipeline is built. This is the fucking scam about these pipelines. This is the scam. Again, it would be one thing if we had a nationalized resource extraction project that at least we were like profiting from in some way, indigenous communities or communities across this country. And it was going into building roads and schools and providing healthcare and building infrastructure and rail and all these good things that could be like modernizing and revitalizing our society and making it more sustainable. That would be one thing. Then we could talk about the feasibility of these pipelines and whether we should be drilling these projects or continuing these fossil fuel projects. Then we could have that conversation. But right now we're getting all the environmental degradation. These unceded territories are being violated. Indigenous people's rights are being violated, and the profits are going elsewhere, not even into the country. And then we buy back the product that they're taking off the land, and we buy that back so they make even more profit. And this is what everyone loses sight of whenever this conversation comes up. Yeah, when people say we have all these resources, we don't own shit. It's the corporations that profit from it. We don't have shit. Yeah, we could also be doing way more green infrastructure shit if we wanted to. There are lots of natural resources in this country called Canada. We could be nationalizing those natural resources, profiting from them, and using the profits to create a green, sustainable economy, infrastructure, rail system. We are not doing that. Hey, Famous Horse, what's up?
Count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
4 months.
Thank you very much, Famous Horse. It's been a wild 4 months, sir. Thank you for the 4 months of Tier 1. So what Rob is saying is that when the USA sabotages the Nord Stream pipeline, it's to create new pipeline jobs for bears. That's right. It's a job creation program. That's exactly what I'm saying. That is exactly what I'm saying.
Just out of curiosity, Pamela, if negotiations are ongoing, how do you, I don't know if you've got spies in the room or not, but how do you keep up to date with where things are at?
Well, I
yes,
work
it can,
with a lot of
Dakadoon.
First Nations all across the country, and obviously First Nations advisors and lawyers and things like that. And we know that although Canada says things like, oh, yes, we want to do land back, and yes, we're changing the land claim process, at the heart of what they're doing is trying to get First Nations to cede, surrender, and extinguish all of their rights to their territories and their resources in exchange for a package, so that you're no longer the true governor over the territory or your resources, but you're getting something back from Canada, obviously, which is far less. And they've tried to change the wording to say, oh, we don't do that anymore, but they do. They make you sign the agreement, and in the event that you don't follow this agreement, you've ceded and surrendered and extinguished your rights. And that's a fundamental problem with the current negotiations.
Riley, let me just finish up with you on this. And that is, I'm going to put an analogy to you, and I want you to tell me whether this makes sense or not, whether the
can also just have the government fund national projects, and then the Bank of Canada retires these debts so they never have to be repaid. Just wipe them off the books. Government spending doesn't really even need to be funded by taxes. It's just a choice of priorities, whether we want to do these things or not. It's not a financial constraint. Yeah. As much as people will tell you that it is. Well, that would cause inflation, right? That's what they would say. That causes inflation. That's the money printing machine. Fuck that. We should be activating the money printing machine, please. We need to be activating the money printing machine way more than we already are. Open Veins was just a brutally long description about how we make the people pay us for stealing their resources. Exactly. Seriously. But what about the debt? No, the debt. The debt. Ugh.
The analogy works in this case, and I'm going to pluck something out of the not too long ago history and go to South Africa in doing so. And I want to know whether you think if there were the possibility of land back and a genuine agreement with the government of Canada, which left both sides coming away from the table satisfied, would you put that as akin to the end of apartheid in South Africa? Would it be something that significant?
Yeah, well, and I mean, it's I always think African comparisons are illuminating because, you know, the model for apartheid in South Africa was actually built off of the Indian Act.
Yeah.
Which is
they wanted to make another Canada in South Africa. They wanted Canadas all over the continent, right? Or Australia's. That's what they want. That's what South Africa was. What they wanted it to be. They wanted a bunch of fucking Canadas all across Africa.
A piece of Canadian legislation today. And so I think that it would at least be, a necessary component of ending the ongoing dispossession and oppression and genocide of Indigenous people in the country. You cannot end a genocide against Indigenous people without returning their capacity, their authority, their legitimacy to them. And so, Canada cannot return legitimacy to Indigenous people. They already have it, but, affirming that and respecting it. And so, yes, I do think it would be an essential part of that project.
Gotcha. Pamela Palmater and Riley Yes No, who still has, in my view, the best Twitter handle ever. Yes, no, maybe. That is the best. I want to thank both of you for coming on to TVO tonight and sharing your views on this. It's been very helpful. Thank you.
Well, that was good stuff. We couldn't get Pam on the show today. I waited way too long to try and reach out to Pam. We'll have Pam on again sometime though, because Pam's a friend. But we did watch a lot of Pam content, so that's pretty good. That's pretty good, folks. I gotta go. Okay, I gotta go in 8 minutes. And look at that, I'm 1 sub shy of the goal. It's the last day of Slubtember. It's the last day, and I'm 1 sub away from the goal. Can you believe that? Can you believe how close that is? It's so close.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this. You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
What kind and generous people. What a kind and generous community.
You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Comrade Social Distancing, thank you for a gifted sub. Thank you. Demon Lord Josh.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Demon Lord Josh, thank you for the gifted sub. Your first gifted sub in the channel, Demon Lord Josh. Thank you so much. Very kind of you. Benchman gifted a sub as well. Thank you, Benchman. And thank you also to Cheeseburger Freedom Eagle for a gifted sub as well. Thank you very much. I was looking for a community talking about Indigenous issues today. Thanks for delivering, Rob. Thank you, Vegetable Lasagna. I'm happy you showed up today. It was great to have you in the chat. I hope you come back. Please make sure you follow. Sorry you somehow Vegetable Lasagna, despite really contributing a lot in the chat today, somehow dodged one of those gifted subs. But I really appreciated having you in the chat today, Vegetable Lasagna. Thank you. Really great stuff.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Oh, and look at that. Dimitri, thank you so much for gifting a sub to Vegetable Lasagna. Very much appreciated. I really appreciate all the support from everybody today. And this week. It's been my first full week back doing the show. Amazing levels of support, absolutely incredible levels of support from people in the community. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. I really, really appreciate it a lot. Let me see here. This will do. I'm hard up right now, but once I get paid for my current contract, I promise I'll make the gift subs rain like Hurricane Ian. Thank you, James. No pressure. I appreciate it. Thank you. So what, I got 5 more minutes. I gotta pass that 3-hour mark. And we still have Lost Sue streaming today, so we're gonna raid Lost Sue. If we want to keep on talking about this issue, Lost Sue is one of the streamers on Twitch that I think is constantly talking about this. LANDBACK, settler colonialism. Really, really vital voice about these issues. So we're going to raid Lost Sue in just a few minutes. I think that's pretty much all. I will be back on Monday. Okay? I'll be back on Monday. I'm back on the full-time schedule. Is Monday the start of season 3? When does season 3 start? I don't even know anymore. I don't even know. I have to look back. Season 3 is starting soon, though. Season 3 of TRRS. Who would have thought? Who would have ever imagined we'd make it this far? And we did that together, folks. It's not just me. It's not just about me. It's not just about me. We did that together. We made it to three entire years. Or the beginning of year 3, at least. Thanks for streaming, Rob. Good chatting, everybody. Put orange sprinkles on everything today. That's how you know that you think genocide is bad, when you do that. Remember, us taking all this land equals sad, but fine. Putin taking over the eastern portions of Ukraine, Hitler times 10. Exactly. Yeah. That's right. Heel turn in season 3. We'll see. We'll see. I'll see what I can do with the heel turn. Okay, 3 more minutes. Again, I've just got to psychologically get past that 3-hour mark. This was a good one, though. We had fun, right, today? We had fun. We had a deep dive into nostalgia. We did some pop culture talk. And I think once we actually got on topic, and again, I credit Vegetable Lasagna for this, once we actually got on topic, had some, I think, good discussions about Orange Shirt Day and Indigenous genocide and LANDBACK and all this stuff. Very important that we talk about this. MAGA communism and constantly talking about the merits of Fanta. Oh, that's the heel turn version. I could shave my mustache and just have like an Amish style beard too. That would be another thing. That could be me as well. And the no glasses. You know, I was thinking because I have a different lighting situation now, I don't even know if the glasses are necessary. I know it freaks people out. Even though I don't wear glasses in real life, I literally only wear them on this stream. I don't wear them in real life. But I know it freaks people out, but... Oh boy. There's like glasses indents on my face. Maybe I should start doing the stream like this. What do you think? What if I started doing this? How come you wear them on the stream? I don't know. I thought it looked better, I guess, on camera. I just thought it looked better. You're blowing your cover. I mean, they're not necessarily fake glasses. They're blue light. So I tell myself I stare at the screen all day and it's good for that. It does look better with glasses. Please return them. I know it freaks people out. Again, this is what I look like. This is what I look like all the time. All the time that I'm not doing the stream, I look like this. Yeah, so you shouldn't be freaked out. I just look like this. Rob said, and I quote, I look poggers. That's right. I too look perpetually exhausted. Big same. Big same. Okay. Please give my regards to Lost Sue. That should be a good discussion today. Over there on Lost Sue's channel. Join the Discord server if you're not in there. If you're not in the Discord, make sure you join that. I will be back on Monday at noon Eastern, and that is 1 a.m. Pyongyang time. Season 3 is cookies and games, finally, of course. Season 3 is starting soon. It's starting soon. I don't know if it's Monday. We'll see, though. We'll see. Thanks again, folks. Again, tell Lost Sue I said hello. Don't do the knife thing. Don't do that. Be nice, okay? I'll talk to you Monday.